try to get the guys that are doing the right things in the industry to talk about that the building inspectors aren't there just to piss people off, that they're trying to get us all out, right?
WA finally has to comply with NCC 2022. All homes have to have certain amount of checks to make sure that they're compliant. And really they should be licensing building inspectors. This is what the state government should be doing.
My opinion is that building inspectors should be regulated and or licensed.
Yeah.
This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Lawn Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde
and Catherine Smith.
Told you should have done that one, we forgot about it. We've got a guest today.
We've got Paul.
Mr. Paul Cable from Broad Building Inspections.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks very much for inviting me along.
Thanks for coming in.
Welcome.
I think it's always an interesting one with building inspectors. You know, we've been in the industry a while and we welcome them, but there are some ones you're like, oh, we shouldn't be building inspecting. But
definitely.
I've known you for a while, worked together a little bit, so we know the same with when we had Mr. Booth on well, maybe a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
Try to get the guys that are doing the right things in the industry to talk about that the building inspectors aren't there just to piss people off, that they're trying to get us all out, right? But as we like to start, give us a little intro, who you are, what you do, why, and all the good stuff.
Yeah, so my name's Paul Cable. I'm obviously a building inspector. Broad Building Inspections is my company. I started Broad Building Inspections about 3 years ago. I was a building inspector with a franchise group prior to that. Decided that the franchise model wasn't for me, and set up Broad Building Inspections. We've been building up relationships and what have you for the last 3.5 years, I think it is now, and going well. Yep, going well. Got a lot of industry specialists like yourself, real estate agents, settlement agents, like to refer work to us because they feel that we're doing it in the right way.
Yep.
In accordance with AS 4349.1 for pre-purchase, you know. There's a lot of building inspectors that kind of might be good builders, but they don't kind of fully understand the 4349.1 pre-purchase guidelines.
Yep. Okay.
They're calling out stuff that, you know, it might be a defect on a new build, but they're calling it out as major structural defects and stuff like that. And it's simply not. Yeah, you know, and with REWA offering acceptance, it's basically only defects to, you know, the roof frame, supporting walls, where it needs to be remediated to stop further damage. Yeah, and you know, so.
Are you see with those? How are you seeing like a specific time of the house is built where you're seeing a lot of these issues, or is it just sporadic? You know, like is it houses built in the early 2000s? Was that like
90s and early 2000s was definitely the worst period. You know, there was a lot of bad stuff going on. There was no one ensuring compliance was being carried out at that time, and you know there was different issues from the glue they used on the ceilings was not working, so you see a lot of ceilings coming down and sagging and what have you. There was a lot of non-compliance with roof frames, roof carpenters, because it was just a WA way and no one ever pointed out that it should be done to, you know, the NCC or the Australia standards. So, yeah, it's a lot of defects for homes of that from that era.
Yeah, so I know you do the pre-purchase and all that kind of stuff. I'm aware of that, but we primarily work in obviously the new home builds. Yeah. What's the kind of common issues? So if anyone doesn't want to go a building inspector and they want to have a look at that, what things should they be looking for? The main common ones that you're seeing that we know we should be switched on to
in the new home space.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest issues really is waterproofing. It's really not getting done compliantly and properly all the time. You know,
and that's a base coat under shower.
Yeah, the base coat, especially in the shower cubicle, for want of a better word. And you know, this stuff becomes almost like a silicon bond. You know, a silicon cover And if that's not stuck to the wall and the tiles are stuck to that, well, the tiles are going to be coming off the wall,
Yeah.
and this is quite a common area of non-compliance, where particularly on the brick rock homes, whether they're dry lines or whether they're framed homes, because I'm finding that they are using their primer, which works perfectly well on the balls, but where the joints have been flushed, the primer's just soaking in, straight away. So it's not really working. And this is the areas where they're going to end up with basically a stripe of drummy tiles around, around the joints in the boards and in the corners. So that's a bit of an issue. Yeah, that's definitely a big one to look out for.
And that's more on the veneers, the framing wall.
No, because a lot of people are dry lining now as well, on brickwork.
True, yeah.
So you even get it on brickwork homes, where the walls are dry lined. It's not too much of a drama on the standard rendered homes, brick and rendered.
So the old floating set type sort of thing.
Yeah.
So a floating set would be plaster on the walls. Dry lining is just putting, G-Peg or Jet Rock on the ceiling. So it's the seals for the bits where they join them.
Yeah, that's it. With the sort of Jet Rock ones, it's just if you're more finding pinholes and stuff like that, that they just need to basically touch up, so it's not a big deal. But one job I was on, and a client's been on my books for 5 years, so we're at a lock-up stage, and I actually peeled the waterproofing off the wall 2 weeks ago. Then the area manager wanted to meet me, so I met him out on the site because he didn't believe me, and he was pointing out where the walls had been primed because they was green and what have you. It's on a brick rock home, and I just rolled my hand across the waterproofing on the flashing compounds, and it peeled straight off. I'd already tiled the floors, and he ordered the tiler to strip it up and get it redone. And then I went back yesterday for another look, and in the bathroom where it was a shower over the bath, I stepped into the bath and peeled it off on the internal corner. And they were saying, that's the paper coming off. And I was like, no, it's not. And I've ripped a piece off and gave it to him. I said, where's the paper? That's just plain waterproof.
I mean, right there, if it doesn't tell you why you need the building inspector, right? I mean, there's the value of it right there. So that was literally the next question is why do you get a building inspector?
Yes.
Why do you get a building inspector, Catherine? Why would you get a building inspector?
I think particularly if you're, 2 points, if you're not understanding how compliance works and you don't know anything about buildings or trades, you're not from that space, for sure have a building inspector. Or if you're not geographically close to the build as well, particularly, clients that are interstate, things like that, and they need to have sort of that peace of mind before they do the next progress payment.
For sure.
That their house is sort of compliant and up to standards.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we offer, 6 inspections in our package, which is pre-slab, slab, plate height, which is a full brickwork check and measure.
Yep.
And make sure everything's compliant, all the tie downs are in and what have you. Roof frame to make sure the tie downs have been used and installed correctly. Then a lock-up, which includes the waterproofing, and then the practical completion. And we get defects of every single stage.
Yeah.
Every single stage,
Because, sometimes you see a client's building inspection report and it's a little bit daunting because it says, 56 things and probably 3 are relevant or e-audit. Yeah. Because they will, say dirt on window, something really, minor or sort of irrelevant. But they report everything. And I think that gives peace of mind to clients that it's been, properly checked, and then sort of highlight sort of 3 areas that obviously need to do more reflection on,
Yeah, definitely. You have to make it clear. I mean, you can have probably on average about 80 painting defects, but that can be stuff that hasn't been painted, stuff that's been damaged by tradies walking through and chipping the edge of a door, and that's why we go through. Myself and my company, we go around and we blue tape everything, so the painters know when they go back to fix it up, exactly what we're talking about and where it is. It just identifies, all them items that need to be looked at.
I mean, picking your building inspector as well, right? You've got to do your due diligence on it, and that's why I say I think one of the best ones to find a building inspector is obviously websites and stuff. Ask around, ask the builders, or jump on social media, because they'll be really honest with you. And your name pops up in a positive way along with a couple of other guys that we use. Some of them, we laugh at the one that report. I don't know if I sent it to you, but I talked to you about it.
Yeah.
I had a building inspector report, and I'm not going to name the names or anything, but he went, and the person went there, and I got sent the report by the client, and I was like, okay, cool. Well, the reason there's no waterproofing and such and such done is because we've only done a slab inspection. Says there's no walls there's nothing. He's like, they can't call. It was like a dick and flick on an iPad or something. And I was like, how much did you pay for the inspector? And he told me, I said, you paid about X amount too much. I was like, I would be cancelling the contract and going with this is not what you want. He's hit me with criticals. He's hit you with criticals, and there's no walls to be critical against. And and
this is the thing, a lot of people use a building inspector and they don't know anything about building. So that would be quite daunting to get, a 15-page report on very, minor or irrelevant things,
Well, they send out and don't talk to the client saying, this is what this is, there's nothing to worry about, it's just something.
I've seen one where it says,
on the slab.
Hole in wall when it was half the wall was built. And you're like, it's not a hole in the wall, it just hasn't been finished. Just as they say these things, and it's scary. It can be scary.
A report that says critical. He's like, I'm not sending that to the client or the builder and going like, there's 15 critical when the walls aren't up and stuff like that. I suppose the thing we use well is maybe the cracks on the slab and all that kind of stuff, right? There's a tolerance, and some of them aren't there.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, because you do get clients and they go and walk on a slab and they'll see cracks and stuff like that. When we do the slab inspection, we highlight that, we put it in for your information only. We use the crack cards to show them what the crack is and let them know that it's basically shrinking cracks, and it's pretty common cracks. So because they've seen it, I might be a bit worried.
It's a catch-22. It's a catch-22. Yeah. It's like, I put it in to show you that it's okay, but when you explain it, we've had them where they go with the cracks and they're all worrying, these cracks are completely fine, but there's no crack card on it or shrink, so you don't understand, which is, again, do your due diligence.
Exactly, and we put it in, under, from your information, not as a defect, so it just lets them all be aware of what's going on, and there's nothing to.
And one thing, with your builder, ask them if they recommend building inspectors, because you're going to get one. They'll rather work with one that they know that does a good job, because it makes their life easier. I mean, there are builders that do work with building inspectors and actively looking. I think that's probably why, one of your initiatives that you were telling me when we caught was a couple of weeks ago, we were chatting about it, and you're working for this builder who engaged you. Do you want to go into that? Because I think that's pretty impressive that a builder's actually taking a forefront to go, do you know what, let's actually see where we sit.
Yeah, I've got, a builder, a large home perf builder that I've been working with for 6 to 9 months now.
Yeah.
And they pretty much pass all their jobs to us now, and we do a compliance check when the roof frame is on. So we go in with a full brick measure, check all the window frames, all the door frames, they're all in the right places, they're all plumb and square. Make sure all the rooms are the correct sizes and what have you, and all the compliance tie downs and everything are all strapped correctly, and the roof frame's built correctly. And so just have another builder come on board as well.
Brilliant.
So it's it's going well.
Brilliant.
It's really good for them builders to be.
It started off like a mystery shopper type thing. That's the way I try to explain to people, is they gave you a version or a couple of homes or certain parts, and you went in and just checked them and gave them a report.
Yeah.
Is that how it started?
Yeah. They just contacted me and said, we want to do a report of some kind. We're not too sure. I want to make sure that, things are going well. And I done one starter report, and that wasn't quite what I wanted, and then they changed, what they wanted from me. And we're working it out between us. It just works out that it's basically covering that whole main structure.
And you've now got you've now went from dipping to them to now getting all.
Yeah. So
that's
we're all over the Melrose area. Yeah.
But it's really good for the builder as well, because then they have the assurance that they can then to lock up.
And if there are issues, then that picks up at that stage before it's got rendered and, and ceilings in and whatever else, It's a lot easier to fix then than down the...
I mean, particularly most builders sort of have that 25-year structural warranty, so having sort of like photo images and a report done that they're done, to compliance at that time sort of, I guess, gives that peace of mind sort of for that long-term, business model.
And I asked this question because I kind of know the answer to it, but it's really interesting. This is why I want it on you, is how are you received at the start to how are you received now with that builder? More so the supervisors, because you're picking on their work, but you're not. If they look at it, you've got to change the way you look at it. You're looking at it, go, where this client is spending a lot of money on this house. We need to make sure that it's a prime that we sell them, we give them okay. And it's just another where we're at in the world. It's now making sure that we're checking on, because that's what it's all about. Everything's accountability now, right? So
that's right. I mean, when I meet supervisors and that on site, and I'd have a chat with them, and I say, look, I like to work with builders, against them. Obviously, I'm working for the client, but I'm here letting you know that something is not wrong or not compliant at a certain stage before it goes too far down the track and it gets picked up. I mean, I just heard of one home this morning that's being knocked down. They missed the termite. The certain termites, it was different to what they normally do.
Wow.
The termite treatment was going in, and the client was not overly happy about it. He wanted what he's...
I guarantee it was a timber frame as well, right? I bet it was a timber frame.
I think it was a double brick, actually. But the client just said, this is what I wanted, this is what I paid for, and they're bulldozing.
Yeah. But are you finding, when you first started working with that builder, the supervisors, they were dubious, or they weren't there a bit more? Now you've got like a really... I'm asking the question because I know the answer too, because I'm...
I mean, supervisors are under a lot of pressure these days. They've all got multitudes of things to look after. They can't be basically on site every day overseeing every trade and what's going on. They do respect us when we pick stuff up. And it might be a little bit annoying in the fact that they've got to get a tray back and make some changes. But, at the end of the day, the home's turning out right and it's not too far down the track.
So, a little bit of pain just now for...
long-term game.
That's great. I wanted to bring it because I know I've saw how well it's went, and I was dubious it would work. But, because of some of the companies we've been involved in, they'll be like just dead against it. They don't want to work with builders. But I think it's a game changer. I think it's probably, you'll find that a lot of builders are going to go down that road, I think. And that's where your good value building inspectors are going to get snapped up. So you'll be busy. I reckon Andrew's going to be busy. You boys will be pretty busy.
That's it, definitely.
So what's new in the industry? What's happening? What's coming up? We've been hearing some bits and bobs in the industry, but what do you know? What do you see happening? Changes?
So from the 1st of June, WA finally has to comply with NCC 2022. And it's had a choice.
So NCC 2022, what's that?
So the National Construction Code, which was drawn up for 2022, 2019 was the previous one, and they, update the National Construction Code every 3 years. And what happened was, because of COVID and then building boom after COVID, basically there was no way that WA could comply. There were so many houses being built and what have you. So they basically got a 2-year stay where they could choose to use 2022 or they could choose to use 2019. As of the 31st of May, that finishes, and new homes now have to be built to NCC 2022. And that's going to bring some changes and stuff like the downpipes coming off gutters. They now have to come out the foot or the sole of the gutter. So where all these years of having leaking gutters inside the eaves and what have you, and gutters just blocking up so easily and overfilling into the eaves lining, that's all going. So get downpipes will now be most likely with all builders external, where they come from the foot of gutters and go underneath the eaves. So any leaks or anything like that is not going to cause that horrible dark staining in the eaves lining that we've seen in homes for the last 30, 50 years. The waterproofing legislation is all changing. Stuff all to do with compliance and water stops, and they're talking about the shower screens are going to have to be on the inside of the shower now instead of on the outside. So where everyone uses that little shelf to put their shampoo and stuff on, that's going to kind of disappearing.
They build them into the wall. Well, how does that work with frameless or with no when it doesn't have any element?
Yeah, so they have to have a water stop underneath the shower frame.
Right, okay.
So that will be sticking up 15 mil, and they basically slot the shower frame on top of it.
So no frameless then.
Yeah.
It's gone. There you go. Because that's a nice clean loop, which is going to be stopped now, right?
Yeah. All the falls to the drains is now going to be fully compliant. So, that's another thing. So, yeah, big changes coming in with the use of the NCC 2022. That doesn't mean that if you pick up your keys, say at the end of June, your house is going to be built to 2022. So it'll be houses that are going into planning after the 31st of May.
Be similar with the 7-star energy rating type sort of thing as well.
Yeah. Well, that's all part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. What about this thing I'm hearing around that builders now have to do, or surveyors would have to do, they have to do building inspection checks? What I read a little bit about it. It was really unclear. It seemed a little bit wavy. I'm hearing that building inspectors have to do it, but it lands on the surveyors or the architect. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, they're trying to bring in that all homes have to have certain amount of checks to make sure that they're compliant. And really, they should be licensing building inspectors. This is what the state government should be doing. We're here, we're experienced. Some of us are, in associations and that, where we make sure you have to be a registered builder, you have to be insured, these kind of things. So, we've got a good base of inspectors that could do these inspections, but for some reason, the government's talking about surveyors doing it. And I think they're going to struggle big time.
Absolutely.
How many surveyors are actually going to go out on site? Are they going to engage building inspectors to go out on site? Or is it going to be like over east, like in the VBA, where they're basically signing it off on their desks without going to site? They're signing off on the plans rather than the works, which will, it's not really worth $2 bob.
No, and that's in theory it sounds really good, but is it going to be actual practical? What we're going to get of it? Are they actually going to? Because measuring a house up takes a lot of time. You got to sit with the plans. You got to work it all out.
Yeah,
so
totally. So there's a lot of confusion over what way it's going to go. I don't think we've got enough surveyors in WA to do it to start with. And as I say, how many of those surveyors are going to want to go and do these site inspections? I can't see it happening. So it's probably going to be the route of surveyors engaging building inspectors to go and do it.
And be allowed
regardless, to do it. I'd imagine,
Yeah, and I know we're running out of time, so one really quick question. I noticed you said like licensed building inspector insured. For me, that's one of the first questions you ask the guy, anyone you engage in a building inspector, do you have a builder's ticket? What's your experience and are you insured? Because it's not a lot of money, but it is a lot of money to get a building inspector and over all the checks.
Yeah.
They will find things, but for the outlay of what you're actually spending on the build, to go and use a cowboy or something that's not experienced,
totally.
You're kind of defeating the purpose over a couple of grand, right?
Yeah, this is the issue, and I know that there's a lot of franchising type companies or bigger companies that employ blokes and kind of give them a little bit of training and send them out on their merry way and leave them to fend for themselves, and they're not builders. They might have been a cabinet maker, they might have been a painter, or just come from a different industry, and having someone like that to look after your build when they don't really know what they're looking for. It's not.
They sort of specialise in one area, but not in.
I think my opinion is that building inspectors should be regulated and/or licensed.
Yeah.
I think South Australia's starting to push that now, isn't it? Is that what you said with SA?
Yeah, there's something that going on over there with the state government and them springing in it. But I'm not sure if that's surveyor based or not. I don't know. But.
Oh, mate, honestly, we're running out of time, but that's flew in so quickly. Like, you could talk all that. I know me and you could talk all day, we'd do it anyway. But, thank you so much for popping in. I reckon we'll probably get you back in to talk about more of those points at the end, because I can see the building industry, inspection industry really change over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
If this surveyor thing comes in, it'll definitely happen.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
That's right.
No, it's great. And again, broad building inspections, if you need to use them. If not, reach out to me and Catherine. We can send you his details. Use them a few times. Very, very good. That's why he's on the podcast. But anyway, as always, like, share, follow. Please subscribe. And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Lawn Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.